In for this meeting between the Michigan Wolverines and the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Take a look at the series between these two teams. This will be the 88th meeting. Michigan has won 27 of the last 29 games in this series, including 10 in a row. The conditions for this afternoon's game: pleasant temperature, winds out of the southwest, and we've got a chance of showers here. And in fact, it's been raining off and on this morning. Let's get on to Jim Barber on the field. Jim, what's the condition like down on the floor?
Well, Wayne, it has started to rain again. Now, this field has got terrific drainage, but take a look at around the 10-yard line over here. Looks like some divots from some golf action. This might be a little slippery as we get inside the red zone. Other than that, just light rain. We had some sunshine moments ago. I guess the good news, guys, is regardless of rain or not, no snow predicted, as was the case in Iowa City last week.
All right, Jimmy. Looks like somebody hit a couple of fat wedges out there. Glenn Mason in his first season as Minnesota head coach, 2-6 overall this year. 9 seasons as head coach at Kansas. He was the 1995 Big 8 Conference Coach of the Year. There's Lloyd Carr, his 3rd season leading the Michigan Wolverine program. He has done an outstanding job. He began his collegiate coaching career as a defensive backs coach at Eastern Michigan University. The Minnesota Golden Gophers will receive, and the Wolverines will kick it away to start things here on this, the 100th homecoming for Michigan. Jay Feely, Jr. out of Odessa, Florida. There's a look at his numbers. 10 touchbacks and 35 kickoffs. Principal deep back is Tutu Atwell. Tyrone Carter also back deep with Atwell. And we're underway from Michigan Stadium. Carter told to stay there with it by Atwell, and Minnesota will accept the football to the 20-yard line to begin the game here today. Quarterback for the Minnesota Golden Gophers is senior Corey Sauter in his 5th year, a capable drop-back quarterback. Coming into this season, he was considered one of the top senior quarterbacks in the country. So Minnesota with a first down out at its 20-yard line. Evans is the tailback, Hall is the fullback. Slot at the bottom of your screen. Nelson's in the slot, and Evans going wide to the far side. Glenn Steele makes the tackle across the 26. It is a gain of 6 yards. Fairfield in starting lineups for the Gophers. Tutu Atwell, the big play man, leads the Big Ten in all-purpose yardage. In the middle of the line is Ben Hamilton. Hamilton, the Gophers' best offensive lineman this season. That left tackle position has been a troublesome spot for the Gophers. We'll see several different players at that spot here this afternoon. Second down at about 4 for Minnesota. Play action, and Sauter under pressure. Under siege, and down he goes. Loss of 3 back near the 23-yard line. Sam Sword, the leading tackler for Michigan, got the sack. Glenn Steele this season has 3 sacks. He leads the defensive line, 3-man down line. And then Sam Sword, as I mentioned, leads this team in tackles. And in the defensive backfield, Marcus Ray, in addition to Charles Woodson, has been spectacular this season. 3rd down, Minnesota. Hall came across, and then Tim Saha, the right tackle, moved on the play. I believe they're going to get a false start on Minnesota. Bill Lamagnier is the Big Ten official.
Prior to the snap, the defense in the neutral zone caused the offensive reaction. That's a 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
So it makes it a 3rd down and more makeable situation. Take a look at it again, Randy.
Much easier call. As you see on the left side of your screen, James Hall just jumps off, and that causes the offensive tackle to move. Now with 3rd and 2, much easier call. Minnesota likes to run wide, including the option when they get in this situation.
Slot at the bottom of your screen, lone receiver to the top. Evans, the lone setback. Atwell's in motion, and Sauter's looking to the air. He's got Atwell for the first down. Ian Gold chases him out of bounds at the 43-yard line. It is a gain of about 16 yards.
Key first down pickup there for the Golden Gophers. Whenever you get a man running away from man-to-man coverage, here you see Atwell coming across the field and Gold trying to catch up. You get the ball to Atwell early and you let him use that speed, picks up some valuable yards and puts the Gophers in pretty good first down position here.
Opening drive of the game, no score. Evans has a seam up the middle and he's out to the 50-yard line. Gain of about 7 yards to Honey Jones in the middle of the Michigan defense, playing in place of the injured co-captain Eric Mays made the stop.
Wayne, this is what Minnesota wants to do to start the game. Keep their offense on the field, run the ball, and pick up first downs. They felt one of the big reasons they had success against Penn State 2 weeks ago was their defense wasn't on the field that much, didn't get tired, could play the whole game. Very important offensively to control the ball.
They go on a quick count. Evans has a big hole up the middle. Byron Evans into the clear, chased by Woodson. And Woodson runs him down inside the 15-yard line. Penalty markers down, maybe for a face mask. Wow. 30-yard or 36-yard run.
If there was any doubt Minnesota wasn't ready to play, they're answering those questions on this drive. As you see the face mask indication by our referee, beautiful hole for Evans to run through, then puts a nice move on to pick up extra yards.
5-yard face mask on the defense. First down, Minnesota.
But take a look at it again, Randy. This just opened up big time.
Well, wonderful blocking by the interior lineman. Nice cutback move. And watch this move right here. You see Hendricks, the free safety, coming up. Thankfully, Woodson, with his speed, can chase Evans down. But a free safety's got to make that tackle when he fronts the back up.
Randy, it looked like the offensive line sold that play very well. All the action to the right, and then Evans cut it back over the middle.
And one reason you hand the ball off so deep is so you give the back that opportunity.
Penalty marker down. Evans is hammered down to the 5-yard line. A gain of about 3 yards. Let's wait for the outcome of the flag. It was an early flag, which would generally mean an infraction perhaps on the offense. Honey Jones made the tackle.
See, the infraction will be against Minnesota. One thing that their offensive coordinator, Elliot Uzelac, told us, they want to go on a lot of quick counts because Michigan moves so much
Illegal
on defense.
motion on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
And Randy, sometimes when you go on a quick count, all of your players aren't set for that second they have to be set for.
Well, especially when they're a little excited now because they've had some success. They've moved the ball all the way down to the 13-yard line. They want to get up and get going.
It is first and goal. The football, though, back at the 13-yard line. Evans is hit and twisted down. Rob Renis. Loss of 2. Back to the 16. Make it a loss of 3.
Minnesota trying to use Michigan's speed on defense against them. Here you'll see the cutback attempt again. He's going to cut it back to the right of your screen right there. But Renis, who beats his block, just gets an arm up top on him. As you see, watch Renis 58 with the arm up top. That just knocks Evans off balance, brings him down. Nice tackle.
Pretty good club, isn't it?
A pretty strong tackle there for one arm.
Second down. Sauter under pressure, lets it go and throws it away. Michigan defensive line coming to the 4, and they got good pressure from the linebacker Sword. Copenhaver was also in the vicinity.
Well, that's a good point. You bring the fact that Sword and Copenhaver, both linebackers coming on the blitz. Whenever you back up and have some success against a good defense, and Michigan has been backed up here in this opening drive, they're not going to sit there and let you get into a rhythm. They're going to try and do some things to disrupt that. That time they came with the blitz.
It is third goal to go. 16-yard line of Michigan. Evans slipped one defender and gets it back inside the 10 down near the 9-yard line. Sam Sword made the stop, and Minnesota is in position to put the first points of the game on the board.
A good safe play and a positive play for the Gophers. Michigan thinking pass with a good pass rush. Minnesota running the draw and giving Evans a chance to maybe bust one loose, but if not, at least you pick up positive yardage and you make it a little easier kick.
Adam Bailey will attempt a 26-yard field goal attempt. The angle to the left side. He is 12 of 15 in the field goal department. And he's got the first points of the game on the board. So Minnesota drives deep into Michigan territory, settles for 3, and the Gophers have the early lead. Here it's been overcast, rainy the past couple of days here in Michigan, and we do have the overcast today, but hopefully the rain will hold off for the most part. And Yes, some trick-or-treaters still in uniform. Take a look at the scoring drive for the Golden Gophers to open the ball game. 9 plays, 70 yards. And time of possession, very important for Minnesota, as we talked about earlier, Randy. And Bailey settles for the 27-yard field goal.
And Minnesota knows how quick this Michigan defense is, so they want to run right at them. They just opened up their drive with one wide running play. Other than that, the success came in between the tackles, and Evans did a nice job of setting up his blockers, making positive plays.
Clarence Williams is the principal deep back and set to kick it away. Aaron McManus for Minnesota. Kick sails toward the near side and backs up Williams a yard deep. Clarence hesitated for a moment, makes a good move through the seam across the 25, and he's out near the 31-yard line. Michigan Stadium, Ann Arbor, Michigan. The 101st homecoming for the Michigan Wolverines as they take on the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Wayne Larrabee, Randy Wright, and Jim Barber with you, and it's good to have you with us this afternoon. The Wolverine quarterback is Brian Greasy, a fifth-year senior who has run this offense efficiently, to say the least. Greasy with 10 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions this season. First down for Michigan at the 31 of the Wolverines. Off play action, Greasy to the air. And he's going deep for Ty Streets. Incomplete. Diving attempt by Streets. Craig Scruggs had the coverage near the 25 of Minnesota. Fairfield in starting lineups for Michigan. Chris Howard. Greasy calls him the MVP of the offense. Not only an excellent blocker, a great receiver, and a tough runner. Up front on the offensive line, Zach Adamy has come into his own. In this, his senior season, he is a leader up front.
Take a look at this Michigan going deep right off the bat, but Craig Scruggs, who has been picked on all season, does a nice job of coverage there.
So second down for Michigan. That's Clarence Williams in motion. Greasy under pressure, sets up a screen pass to Howard, breaks a tackle attempt, and he's got a first down. Out to the 43-yard line. Antoine Richard chased him down. Richard on the defensive line inside has done a great job of helping to free up Lemanzer Williams. Park Williams makes a lot of tackles at the middle linebacker spot. And Tyrone Carter leads this team in tackles from his safety position.
You saw the first screen that time that Michigan will run. Maybe the best screen team in the Big Ten.
Second first down for the Wolverines out near the 43. Greasy trying for Woodson. Inserted in the ball game. Charles Woodson will play both sides of the line. We haven't seen a lot of Charles on offense in recent weeks, but he will get some spot play there.
He's making enough of an impact defensively, especially last week with that great game against Michigan State. But we talked earlier, Wayne, about how Minnesota will come up with 7, 8, 9 men at the line of scrimmage. Michigan's going to have some success throwing the ball. They had success on the second one, the screen play. But other than that, Minnesota's doing a nice job defending it.
2nd and 10. Chris Howard upended near the midfield marker. Gain of about 6, 7 yards. Tyrone Carter, one of the hardest hitters in that Minnesota secondary, made the stop.
You talk about Tyrone Carter being one of the hardest hitters. Watch this coming right at you now. You see Carter, number 22. He'll come up to the line of scrimmage. Once he reads the play, he leads this team in tackles. Gets another one there, ducking his head, but at least he makes sure he fronts up so that Howard doesn't juke him and try and get away. Nice tackle that time by Carter.
3rd down, and it's a little bit more than 3 yards to go for Michigan. Got a first down to Woodson at the 45-yard line. Over to make the tackle, Park Williams, the linebacker, and it's a first down on a gain of 5.
One of the few times you'll see Woodson catch a short pass over the middle. Michigan usually uses him deep into the outside, but this time coming across the middle, makes a nice catch, holds onto the ball, knowing he's going to get hit, and wisely picks up just enough yards for the first down. Sometimes that's a common mistake when a guy's not used to it. Like you see Woodson with 5 catches, they don't get the first down yardage. They catch it short. Nice job getting what he needed.
So first down for the Michigan Wolverines, and Howard gets the call, running hard up the middle inside the Minnesota 40-yard line to the 38 on a gain of 7 yards. Park Williams was there along with Josh Rawlings. Michigan, we've seen a little more in the passing department from Michigan on this drive, but again, David Gibbs, the defensive coordinator of Minnesota, expected this because Minnesota is going to load up the box. They're going to put 8 men in the box and challenge Michigan's ground game, and they would just assume Michigan pass the ball a little bit more, and they're expecting them to pass it more in the early portion of this game to loosen them up. Here's Howard now getting the call and starting to move the ball on the ground. Penalty marker is down. Howard's got a first down near the 25-yard line. That offensive line starting to open up some holes now for Michigan, and Craig Scruggs makes the stop. Penalty marker down. Holding against Michigan.
Nice run by Howard is going to be brought back because of a holding penalty that apparently happened late in the play. Take a look, just a simple dive play by Howard, but a nice job of blocking.
Holding
And then
on the offense.
You see the cut.
Penalty. Still second down.
Watch the wide receiver to the right over there, Ty Streets, holding Craig Scruggs, the defensive back. Excuse me, that was Marcus Knight, 85, holding Craig Scruggs, which allowed Howard to pick up a few extra yards, but the penalty is going to bring it back and leave it short of the first down.
So it's a second down, and it's almost 4 yards to go. Football near the 38-yard line.
Early here, Wayne, the more success Michigan has passing, the more it will help the running game for the entire game.
Williams in motion. Greasy under a blitz and dumps it away, incomplete. Park Williams up the middle came up the middle untouched and pressure the quarterback. Jim Barber, what do you have on the Greasy family?
Well, Wayne, despite the recent incompletion, obviously great numbers this year for Brian, a lot of success, a lot of it due to his lack of success last year. So with him not starting last season for most of the year, he relied on his dad, the legendary Bob Greasy, for some advice, and his dad told him, stay cool and calm, you'll get your chance. Eventually came off the bench to be a starter. The rest, as they say, has been history.
And you're right, Jim. I mean, the advice was work hard, keep working hard, and be ready when your chance comes, and Greasy was last year. Greasy gets the first down on the dive, or he's very close to it, just inside the 35-yard line. Tyrone Carter responded from the secondary. It looks like Brian Greasy has the first down. And, in fact, he does.
This is one of the things that Brian Greasy brings this offense with his maturity. You hear his coaches say he plays within himself. There is a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. He doesn't try and force something down the field or make something happen. He knows that he can just pick it up. Even if he doesn't get the first down, they may be in field goal range, or it gives him a chance to go at it. So playing within himself has been a big key to his success.
First down, football just inside the 35. Howard covered up as he makes yardage down to the 32, gain of a couple of yards. Lemanzer Williams led the way for Minnesota. Just to expand a little bit on what Jim Barber was talking about Brian Greasy last year, what really impressed Lloyd Carr, the head coach of Michigan, about Brian Greasy was the fact that last year when he was disappointed and he was the backup quarterback to Scott Dreisbach, Greasy went back to work, worked hard, and when he got an opportunity to play late in the season, he was ready. And that led into this season here. And no one has prepared himself more for a football campaign than Brian Greasy, and that was his off-season workload and what he did to prepare for this campaign, his senior season. Greasy under pressure, hit by Mesra, the pass to Ty Streets. Did he catch it in play? No! Apparently had a foot out of play. Ty Streets with a nearly acrobatic attempt to stay in play. Jimmy Wyrick had the coverage. Beautiful throw from Greasy, Randy.
It was a nice throw, but you do need to keep it inbounds a little more. Michigan here, or Minnesota, coming with the blitz. The ball just sails out of bounds. Streets has his man beat. Watch the left foot, comes down right.
Ooh, good
clearly
call.
Out of bounds. Good call by the referee.
So it is a 3rd down for Michigan. 3rd and about 7 yards to go. This is the opening drive for Michigan. Minnesota leading 3-0 in the early going here. Greasy again under pressure again as he throws, and this time he's got Jay, the tight end, for a first down to the 23-yard line. To the studio, Mike Gleason for Clemson and Wake Forest.
Well, Wayne, like Minnesota, Clemson, they cashed in on their first possession, but Wake Forest has answered. Kuklek to Davis, 5 yards for the score, but they added the conversion. Wake now leads Clemson 7-6. Wayne.
So Brian Greasy cranks it up for the first down now at the Minnesota, just inside the Minnesota 23-yard line. Howard backed up by Carter. But we told you about Tyrone Carter. His hit on Aaron Harris, the fullback at Penn State, may have ended Aaron's season a couple of weeks ago.
Take a look at the far right of your screen, number 22. This guy comes up. Now, keep in mind, he's 178 pounds. He plays strong safety, plays like a linebacker, and hits like a defensive lineman. What a nice play for a guy 5'9", 178 pounds.
You know what impresses me about him, Randy, is his tackling technique. I mean, it's textbook.
Let you know when you do things technique sound, you have a lot of success.
Second down. Greasy. Escapability. Brought down by Lemanzer Williams, close to the first down, inside the 15.
Take a look at number 2, Woodson up top, trying to come inside on a quick little turn pattern, slips and falls, and that's where Greasy was looking to go. But at least Woodson gets back up and tries to work himself open again, had Greasy not decided to run the ball.
We've seen a lot more of Woodson on offense today than we expected. He only played 2 offensive plays against Michigan State and only 2 against Iowa the week before. Woodson getting more of an opportunity on this opening drive for Michigan. First down. Howard. Pile driving run up the middle to the 9-yard line, a gain of about 3. Richard, the interior tackle, made the stop, a junior out of Houston, Texas.
Michigan has had a great deal of success inside the 20-yard line. This drive already 15 plays, 57 yards. And Michigan has had 2 drives already this year, over 16 plays. So when you run this ball control offense, they've done a nice job of controlling it, not stopping themselves, and finishing them off with touchdowns. 22 of their 34 attempts inside the 20 have ended in touchdowns.
It's been a grinder, this Michigan drive. Williams in motion. Second down. Nice play made out in the flat by Lemanzer Williams. Greasy trying to get the football over to Clarence Williams, no relation.
What a nice job by Lemanzer Williams, recognizing this play and then having the ability to drop back off and make the play defensively. This is their #1 pass rusher. We said earlier, leads the Big Ten. Watch on the right side of your screen. He comes up, he sees the play develop, he sees Williams in motion, and then he gets out there and knocks the ball down, even though that's not his man. Nice play by Williams.
May have prevented a touchdown. Third down. Greasy fumbled it, picks it up, and down he goes. Park Williams once again was able to escape through the line to the quarterback, and he tomahawked that ball away from behind. Greasy got it back, but he's decked for a loss to the 15.
Well, we saw when a defense gets backed up, they're going to come at you. Here, Park Williams beats the count, and with that right arm, reaches in for the ball. Michigan gets a fortunate bounce, and Greasy picks the ball up rather than just falling on it, but by that time, the defense had converged. Nice job by Williams, knowing the cadence, coming off the ball quicker than the Michigan offensive line.
33-yard field goal attempt by Craig Baker. And it's no good. The Wolverines drive deep into Minnesota territory, come up empty. And as we head down the stretch of the first quarter, Minnesota leads by 3. 3-0 Minnesota, and the Gophers take over at their 20-yard line. On offense for the second time this afternoon. Evans hit by Woodson near the 23-yard line, gain of 3. To the sidelines, Jim Barber. Jim.
Wait, Jim Herman, who's the defensive coordinator of the Michigan Wolverines, telling his players in the last series, look out for Tutu Atwell. They're sending him in motion. For some reason, they couldn't pick him up in the last series. That's when he got the big game. By the way, speaking of Herman, he's the guy that Bo Schembechler recruited many years ago as a linebacker. Bo said, I knew him when he had hair, which is not the case right now.
Oh, that was very cruel, Jim.
One of the reasons they sent Tutu Atwell in motion is so Michigan can't jam him with their defensive backs.
Evans cutting it back. He does not go down on the first hit, and he's close to the first down near the 30-yard line. Tommy Hendricks up to make the stop from his safety spot for Michigan.
It's a good point you bring up about Evans, Wayne. He doesn't go down on the first hit, and he runs north and south. Very seldom do you see him trying to make the big play to the outside. He finds the hole, coming back off of an injury. He was hurt earlier this year with an ankle injury. Came back a couple of weeks ago, had a big game last week against Wisconsin, and has started off on fire here today.
He's been averaging 7.2 yards per carry coming into the game. First First down, Minnesota. Sauter still got it. And Steele has him. Back near the 22-yard line. Loss of 8. Glenn Steele, the senior, out of Legionnaire, Indiana.
Little play action pass here as Sauter comes to this side. He sees the man in front of him right there. But right here, if you're Sauter, you've got to throw the ball away. You know that your pursuit is coming from the back side. So if it's not open, right here as you see James Hall 56, it's not there, throw it out of bounds. Don't let Steele come, because that's where the pursuit's going to get you, from behind.
Second down, about 18. Evans. Lost another yard. Maybe 2. Sam Sword. Boy, this Michigan defense has some names, don't they? Sam Sword, Glenn Steele, Marcus Ray.
Take a look at Michigan's interior defense here. They plug the middle, thinking that's where Minnesota's going to run, and there are just too many blue jerseys for the white ones to block.
Talk about loading up the box. Jim Herman had it filled that time. 3rd and long. Sauter. Leverson, and Weathers right with him, escorts him to the turf after a gain of about 4. The Studio 66 for Clemson and Wake Forest, Mike Gleason.
Well, Wayne David, Richardson has a memorable afternoon. This one from 52 yards out. That's a career long for him. And the Tigers back on top, 9-7 over Wake Forest. Wayne?
A little bit of a seesaw battle going on down to that ACC game. Right here, Michigan trailing by 3, and Minnesota in punt formation, better than 100,000 on hand at Michigan Stadium. Ryan Rindles. Kind of a short kick, good leverage into it, and the catch made by Woodson. Penalty markers down. They did not give him enough room to make that catch. It looked like a little bit too close was Crawford Jordan. Interference with the fair catch. Take a look at it again. There's the fair catch signal. And it was Park Williams who was too close. Just in from the trick-or-treat party last night. I think those guys dress up like that more than just for Halloween.
You think they party here in Ann Arbor?
I would have to say. I would have to say that's obvious. With Glenn Mason getting down to business, the coat's off.
It's getting serious now.
Yes, it is. Michigan off the interference penalty. Operates from the 50-yard line, first down, and Greasy to the air. As expected, and that pass was tipped by Hoffman. Hoffman got a piece of it. Sean Hoffman, the outside linebacker, a redshirt freshman out of Fargo, North Dakota.
Take a look at the drop that Sean Hoffman gets now. Greasy is going upfield, and Hoffman, coming off of his man, sees the ball and gets up there high enough with that vertical jump and knocks that ball down.
And again, Michigan a little more active through the air, Randy, than most people would expect in a game like this. But David Gibbs, the defensive coordinator of Minnesota, expected Michigan to throw the ball early in this ball game. Here comes Clarence Williams. Boy, he just banged that through there on the end and finished the run with a gain of about 8 yards. Keith Dimmy, the free safety, made the stop, and Clarence is shaken up. Looked like he took it on the thigh.
We're grabbing his hamstring right there.
Yeah.
He looked like he went down a little different and made a nice run to pick up the yards he did, but this could be a very costly gain.
He may have pulled it as he jumped at the end of that run.
You may be right. Take a look at the end of this run. Number 86, Ty Streets, blocking on Wyrick. Right here, does a nice job blocking. Right there he is, pushing Wyrick to the outside. That allows Williams to get as many yards as he did. 86 on the outside here. He stays with him the whole time, blocks him, doesn't let go, pushes him down, and that prohibits Wyrick from coming up and making a play at or near the line of scrimmage.
Time now to take a look at the Gte Academic All-America team. The College Sports Information Directors of America. Kevin Sullivan of Michigan, a senior, track and cross country. And I'll tell you something, cross country is one tough sport. He's a major in engineering, and you've got to have a little intestinal fortitude to be out there chugging along and cross country, up and down those hills. It is an individual sport, but it's a very difficult sport. Clarence Williams, there's a look at him. These Michigan running backs, Chris Howard, Clarence Williams, tough runners. Anthony Thomas, a true freshman whom we'll see here, I would imagine later today, Randy, is perhaps the most talented of the bunch.
Excellent runners, Wayne, but they also are very involved in the passing game. Michigan has got over 54 receptions to the running back, so they are very involved. And Clarence Williams comes into this game with a 21-game streak of having at least one reception. So if he's out, that not only affects their running game, but also their passing game.
Well, they're checking Clarence over on the bench now. Chris Floyd, the lone setback for Michigan on a third down call. Third and about 3. Greasy has the big tight end, Campbell. Campbell takes Carter with him for an extra 5 yards to the 34-yard line. Mark Campbell, a junior from Clawson, Michigan, 6'6" and 253. He is a load.
Boy, this is what Brian Greasy does so well. He knows where he wants to go with the ball right away, and he gets it out there right away. He gives Campbell a chance to make the catch and pull forward for that first down.
Time winding down to this first quarter. Not a whole lot there. Anthony Thomas on the carry, the freshman out of Winfield, Louisiana. Sean Hoffman, the linebacker, got over to make the hit. So this first quarter is in the books. David Gibbs, Minnesota Golden Gophers trying to make another defensive stand. The offense has them 3 points at the end of one. You're looking at Michigan Stadium. Wayne Larrabee, Randy Wright, Jim Barber. Good to have you with us. Minnesota at the end of one, leading this football game 3-0. Michigan on the drive. 2nd and 10 from the Gopher 34. The reverse to Woodson. Touchdown! When Michigan needs a big play, the Wolverines look to number 2, Charles Woodson, on both sides of the football. 33 yards.
You can see the lineman set up, the nice job he does of following his blockers, and then here he just turns on his speed and outruns into the end zone. Nice play by Woodson all around, and a nice job selling the sweep, which set up the reverse.
Baker's point after is good. We saw Woodson reverse for a touchdown that broke the back of Indiana a year ago here at Michigan Stadium. And he puts Michigan on the board offensively for the first time this afternoon on the first play of the second quarter. Back in Michigan Stadium, the Wolverines on the board on the first play of the second quarter. Charles Woodson's 33-yard touchdown run off a reverse. And the wind just kicked the ball before Jay Feely had a chance to. So they'll do it again. You see that reverse with Woodson in there. That's one reason we saw Woodson on offense so much in the first quarter, so that when he went in there to run that reverse, it wasn't a big excitement, a big attraction to Minnesota. This kick is sailing toward the near side and stays in play. It's up for grabs and recovered by the Gophers near the 14-yard line. I think the Gophers thought that was going to sail out of bounds easily. It kind of hung up there and dropped down and stayed in play, and now the Gophers had to react for it. The Wolverines were all over it as well. It was like a knuckleball, Randy. You take a look at this, the up guys for Minnesota thought the deep guys were going to get it. With this wet turf, the ball just kind of drops and sits there, and Carter had to come up and make a nice recovery to keep the ball in Minnesota's possession there. Take a look at the scoring drive. 49 yards at 5 plays. Just took a minute and 8 seconds. Hamner is the tailback. Leverson's in motion across the formation. Michigan in a blitz. They pick it up pretty well. Sauter lets it go, and the pass incomplete. Penalty marker down. James Hall pushed the fullback, Justin Hall, to the floor. The two Halls not related except for that play. They're involved in that play. Michigan turning the pressure on when they've got Minnesota backed up, coming with the blitz.
And Sauter did a nice job of not trying to force something into a covered receiver over the middle. Went to his drop-off in Justin Hall. And some clear contact made by James Hall. If you take a look to the right of the screen, Sauter throws the ball out there, and James Hall comes up and just clearly pushes him in the back.
Pass interference on the defense. That's a spot foul. Automatic first down.
Really doesn't do much to you because Minnesota only picks up 2 or 3 yards. So what they do, though, is they get another first down. It would have been second, so not a penalty that puts Michigan in a real tough spot.
Minnesota first down.
Unless you're James Hall and you've got to go over and face Lloyd Carr.
That's Atwell in motion. Hamner tried to follow the block of Hall and did not get back to the line of scrimmage. Back to Studio 66. Mike Gleason, what's happening Tennessee, South Carolina?
Well, Wayne, Tennessee volunteers some razzle-dazzle early on. Peyton Manning finds Copeland. Copeland looks downfield, finds Peerless Price. And this one goes 42 yards. Tennessee punches it in. Volunteers up 6-0 early on. Wayne?
Well, the Vols ventured successfully into Alabama last week. The Gamecocks have won their last 3, so both teams feeling pretty good about themselves in the early going. Second down at about 11. Hamner and a delay. Wolverines reacted quickly. Clint Copenhaver made the tackle. We're at Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor for Big Ten football. The Minnesota Golden Gophers, the Michigan Wolverines, Wayne Larrivee, Randy Wright, and Jim Barber. And a reminder to get inside the huddle of your favorite Big Ten team. Go online at www.big10.org for all the football and conference news from around the Big Ten. Third down at about 7. Sauter screens to Handel. Michigan had it snuffed out. Josh Williams, the defensive tackle, was right there. Fourth down, Gophers. The might of the Michigan defense being felt here.
Josh Williams does a nice job of reading this screen early. Look at the left-hand side of your screen. He sees Hamner come out there. He reads it the whole way, and then he does a nice job of making a sure tackle. If you're Corey Sauter, you have to wait a little longer for that screen to develop, or you've got to throw the ball away.
Ryan Rindle's long is 68 yards. He'd like to get at least that much here. Russell Shaw is back deep for Michigan. Rindle's kick comes up a bit short, but does take a Minnesota hop. Shaw gives Michigan possession inside Minnesota territory near the Gopher 47-yard line. Michigan beginning to take control. The Wolverines leading 7-3 take over in Gopher territory when we return. Wayne Larrivee, Randy Wright, Jim Barber. Great to have you with us at Michigan Stadium. 7-3 Wolverines. Average field position to start a drive. Michigan playing on a much shorter field than Minnesota so far. Greasy screens it out, and it's off the hands of the freshman, Anthony Thomas.
Again, Michigan trying to run the screen just the way they've had some trouble running the ball early, at least in the middle. You run a screen, you run a sweep, you run the quick hitches to the wide receivers, just different ways to get the ball to the outside. But that screen play is a play Minnesota's expecting. So far, it's defended pretty well.
Shaw and Streets to the top of your screen. 2nd and 10 for Michigan. Floyd is the lone back. Floyd met in the middle by Hoffman, drives the pile forward for 2 yards. The Studio 66, Mike Gleason.
Well, Penn State and Northwestern, Wayne, the Lions had last week off, and Curtis Enos certainly looks fresh. Enos has 58 yards on the drive. He finally takes it in from 2 yards out. And Penn State is on the board first against the Cats, 7-0. Wayne?
We know the Cats played Ohio State tough for the first half last week and then fell apart in the second half. Up until that point, Northwestern had been an improving football team, and it'd be interesting to see what they're able to do today. Third down here for Michigan from the 45 of Minnesota. Deep drop by Greasy. Lots of time. Now he's under pressure, and down he goes. Had to be great coverage downfield. Clarence Williams makes the sack. He leads the Big Ten in sacks. That's his 11th of the season, a school record.
By that time with Clarence Williams, Wayne, he was double and triple team. He's coming from the left side of your screen. Watch him go down. He's got 3 blockers on him. He goes down, but he gets back up. He doesn't give up, and as he gets back up, turns around, look who's right in front of him. Brian Greasy makes the sack.
Hey, look what I found. Jason Vincent in punt formation. Tutu Atwell is the deep man. Vincent, good leverage into this kick. Atwell, the fair catch signal, and he makes the catch back inside the 10-yard line. Break of the action then in this, the first half. Michigan 7, Minnesota 3. Take a look at this. All in a day's work for the Michigan quarterback, Brian Greasy. Clarence Williams hits him there, and then from behind, Rufus Smith takes the hat right off his head. My goodness.
Never safe when you're a quarterback, even on the ground.
You guys are hunted of people, aren't you, quarterbacks? First down for the Gophers. Evans gets about 2 to the 10-yard line. First drive for Minnesota went 71 yards to a field goal. The last 2 drives, total of 3 yards.
Well, their offense has to respond right now. The defense came up with a big stand after Michigan got the touchdown on the reverse. They went back out on the field. Michigan took over on the +50, and the defense held them and forced them to punt. Now their offense has to respond because they need to give that defense some rest.
2nd and 8. Evans trying to cut it back. Hit by Reedus and then gunned down behind the line. Over to make the tackle for the Michigan Wolverines. That time Ian Gold, a linebacker.
Wayne, if Michigan's front 7 continues to play this entire game in the Minnesota backfield, it's going to be a long day for the Gophers. Watch the penetration, and as Evans sees that, it's too late to cut back, and when he does, you see 2 or 3 other blue jerseys who have caught up to him.
That left side of the Minnesota line has been under duress. John Albrecht and Luke Blind. Blind's been bothered by a knee problem. Third down, almost 10. Sauter over the top to Leverson, overthrown. Leverson well covered down the sidelines. It's a 4th down.
You see a sample right there of why Michigan's secondary is so good. When they're well, they don't need help from the safeties like we've seen Minnesota have to come up. So when you don't need help from the safeties, you can bring your 2 safeties over top and help out your corners, and it makes it that much harder to throw the ball, as Corey Sauter just found out.
Minnesota just 1 for 5 on 3rd down conversions. That pass to Tutu Atwell on the first drive of the game was their only 1st down conversion on a 3rd down call. Rindles from his end zone. Woodson back there this time. Makes Park Williams miss. But he left about 3 Gophers in his wake. And finally goes out of bounds in front of the Michigan bench at the 38-yard line of Minnesota.
When a team doesn't have the team speed that a coach likes, it shows up on special teams. There were 2 or 3 instances right there on that punt return where it looked like Minnesota had Woodson hemmed in, but yet he just uses his speed and gets around him. He wants to go to the left here. Can't do it. Watch him cut back to the right, and he doesn't give up many yards as he gains an advantage towards the corner. You've got a couple safeties there that just barely track him down.
Greasy on a boot. Looking to go the other way. He's got a man wide open. Thomas to the 9-yard line. Anthony Thomas. Jimmy Wyrick made the stop. 29-yard gain. Well executed play by the Wolverines.
Nice job of Thomas. When you wait the fake, once the defense sees the back doesn't have the ball, they tend to forget about him. Greasy, though, comes back after he goes down the left sideline. He does a nice job of catching it. Then he becomes a runner. Wyrick puts a nice hit on him, but a big play coming out of the backfield.
1st and goal, just inside the 9. Thomas this time snuffed out by Rufus Smith back behind the line. Out near the 11, loss of a couple. Minnesota trying to stiffen defensively. They've given up just a one touchdown drive so far this afternoon.
Well, even after the big play, Minnesota responds with a nice defensive play on their own as Rufus Smith reads the play, comes up, makes a sure-handed tackle for negative yardage there.
Loss of almost 4 yards. Anthony Thomas leaves the lineup. And Michigan brings Chris Howard, the senior, back in.
They just keep bringing different backs in there, and all of them can do the job.
They come in waves, don't they? Shaw in motion. Greasy play action naked boot. Well set up. Touchdown Michigan. Mark Campbell with the dive for the end zone, and Michigan leads 13-3.
Take a look at the play action here as Campbell is wide open. Greasy sees it, gets the ball to him, but look in the corner of your screen. You'll see 36 there throwing the block on the defensive back, which keeps him from coming up. Take a look in the end zone here at the right as you see the catch. 36 Shea blocking on Demi. That keeps Demi from coming up and making the tackle and allows Campbell to get into the end zone.
Baker's point after. Michigan has moved on top with a couple of scores in the second quarter. Wolverines on this dive by Mark Campbell lead it 14-3. The veteran Howard, number 8 on your right, the senior, and the rookie Thomas, the freshman. Anthony Thomas, a true freshman, on the left side of your screen. Boy, I tell you, they can bring some talent at that tailback spot, can't they, this Michigan Wolverine team?
Well, you don't even mention the fact that Clarence Williams went out with an injury or Thomas wouldn't be in there, and they just keep coming at you, and like we talked about, they can all do the job very, very well.
Feely pop flies this one. It's taken by one of the up backs and down the sidelines, out across the 40-yard line. Mike Harden made the catch on it. Kenneth Jackson forced him out, and Minnesota gets good field position to start this drive. I'm kind of wondering about the last 2 kickoffs I've seen from Michigan, if that they were trying to hit the sidelines. 3 plays, 37 yards for the Wolverines. Must be a pretty good wind blowing at the floor of the stadium. Maybe Jim Barber can get a reading on that for us in a few moments.
I also think they're trying to keep the ball away from Tutu Atwell. Yep. He's one of the most dangerous return men in the league.
Probably that more so than a weather condition of any kind. But they are kicking into the wind when they're going that way. Minnesota needs something offensively. Their opening drive netted 3 points, and Billy Cockrum is in a quarterback. He's the option quarterback. Has a pretty good arm as well. Nelson off his hands. Coverage provided by Dhani Jones.
You talk about Billy Cockrum, who is a little more of a runner than a passer. As you can see, he's only thrown 16 passes this year. Right now, he's got a very strong arm, but he's more of a thrower than a passer. As he develops, as he gets a better feel for the passing game, Glenn Mason, the Minnesota coaching staff, think he'll develop into a better passer than a thrower.
From what we've seen, Randy, he has the natural God-given ability to throw the football pretty well. Thomas Hamner. Hamner slipping through a hole off the right side of the line. Gets out about 6 yards out near the midfield marker. Dhani Jones the stop. Back to the studio 66 for Mike Gleason.
Well, Wayne, Iowa and Purdue will call Purdue a pass-happy offense or a strike-quick offense. Billy Dicken over the middle. This is Brian Alford. Yards, his 8th touchdown of the season, which ties Ohio State's David Boston. And look at this, Purdue up on top of Iowa, 10-0 in Iowa City, Wayne.
Well, I tell you, Mike, when are people going to start believing that Purdue is a pretty darn good football team?
I think you can add Iowa to that list right now.
Whoa. Here we go, 3rd down for Minnesota. Atwell in motion. Cockrum. Got a nice block from the fullback, Justin Hall, to get that first down to the Michigan 44-yard line. Woodson had to come up from his cornerback spot to make the stop.
this play by Cockrum was made the first step back in the pocket. As he accelerated to get beyond the reach of that Michigan rush, it gave him the distance and allowed him to pick up the first down. That's where Sauter doesn't quite have that quick acceleration.
That's what I was going to ask you. You know, Michigan's defensive line and defensive front seven really has started to dominate this game. You have a drop-back quarterback in Sauter. He's more susceptible, I imagine, to the pressure, whereas Cockrum might be able to escape and make a play on the run.
And it's that first or second step that allows you to pick up all those yards.
First down. Tried to drill that one into Tutu Atwell. He was pretty well covered. Charles Woodson and Marcus Ray were there. Today's Big Ten game is brought to you by GTE, official telecommunications consultant to the NCAA and a Big Ten corporate partner. Wayne Larrivee, Randy Wright, Jim Barber. There is Glenn Mason in his first year leading the Minnesota program as head coach. 2nd and 10. Hamner, boy, he followed his blocking well. Gain of about 7. Studio 66. Mike Gleason, what's happening with Penn State Northwestern?
Well, Wayne, people in State College, PA, say Mike McQuarrie's struggled as of late. 7-0 Penn State. McQuarrie goes downfield. Tough choice there. That's Josh Barnes with the pick for Northwestern. The Lions still lead at 7-0. Wayne?
And we will see Northwestern next week on the road at Illinois.
And they started this year with a young team, but nobody's inexperienced in the 8th, 9th game of the year. They're playing better.
3rd and 2. Hamner denied the first down at the 35-yard line to Hottie Jones. The middle of that Michigan linebacking core made the stop. It is a 4th down, about a yard to go. And I think it's time on this one.
I would agree with you, Wayne. And look, you see the linemen firing off for Minnesota, but yet Michigan just closes so quickly. They've got so much speed, and they're such sure tacklers. It's just hard to get those extra yards.
4th and 1. Nope. Hamner may have taken off too early. James Hall grabbed him around the ankles. They didn't block it well enough, and Michigan takes over across its 35.
See, Jim Herman couldn't be happier with that defensive stand. You're right, Wayne. They didn't block it well enough, and they didn't hit it quick enough. Take a look on the bottom of your screen. You'll see James Hall, 56, come in there. He wraps up Thomas Hamner's legs and pulls him backwards. Hamner takes off early, but just about the same time as when Hall hits him, and there's just no room for him to go. He couldn't go through it, and he couldn't get enough momentum to go over it.
A little over 5 minutes to go in this first half, and Michigan takes over.
That Michigan defense just continues to be impressive week in and week out.
They are outstanding, aren't they? Chris Howard into some traffic. Ben Meserup makes the stop. Meserup, true freshman linebacker.
Talk about that Michigan defense a minute. Their coaches and Minnesota's coaches, they'll all tell you they are physically talented enough to beat anybody, but they're playing such sound technique. They're playing so aggressive. They understand it that when you take talent and you take sound coaching and techniques, it's just about impossible to beat them, and that's why they're 7-0.
2nd down. Thomas is turned back near the line of scrimmage. Back down to the field, and Jim Barber.
Picked up just moments ago here, not affecting nearly the passing game as we might imagine. In terms of the rain and everything, that died off probably late first quarter, and that's been a pretty good sign here because the field has not gotten any weather. But you were mentioning a little earlier about the wind and the fact it's picked up, a little baseball term for you. It's blowing out to left field right now, so it's a hitter's ballpark.
Okay. Well, those right-handed pull hitters. 3rd down, Michigan. Greasy hit as he throws. Nice throw to Howard. Got a first down near the midfield marker at the Michigan 49. Craig Scruggs on the stop. First down for the Michigan Wolverines. Back to Studio 66, Mike Gleason.
Well, Wayne, remember the Toledo Rockets opened up the '97 campaign with that big victory over the Boilermakers? Check this out. The Rockets, Chris Wallace, talk about threading the needle. Right on. Curry is off to the races, 86 yards for the touchdown. Toledo up on Miami of Ohio, 7-0. Wayne?
Well, that's a meeting of a 7-0 Toledo team and a 6-2 Miami of Ohio team. Greasy, meanwhile, on the roll. escapes at the 47-yard line of Minnesota, a gain of about 4. Take a look at what's happening thus far. Michigan, after Minnesota scored the first 3 points of the game. Corey Sauter sacked by Glenn Steele, and then Michigan's first touchdown. Charles Woodson on a reverse, 33 yards for the first score. Second quarter, rolled out pass. Tight end, the big guy, 6'6", dives for the end zone from 12 yards away, and Michigan on top, 14-3. Second down, boy, I tell you, there's some bumping going on as Michigan attacks the middle of that Minnesota defense. Chris Howard for short yardage to the 45. It'll be a third down at about 4 coming up. Raymond Baylor on the defensive line provided the resistance for Minnesota.
And that's a much improved run defense by these Golden Gophers, as they have not played well in the past couple of years, but this year Glenn Mason and especially the second half of this season, they have really improved it, led with Baylor there, and Antoine Richard and Josh Rawlings, Lamanza Williams have done a nice job, and Michigan is still finding it tough going when they try and run at the interior of this Gopher defense.
3rd and 4. Greasy. Howard. Loose coverage by the linebacker Ben Mesra, and Howard steps out with a first down on the near sidelines. Just inside the 40, near the 38 of Minnesota. Don't forget, coming up at halftime, the National Car Rental halftime report with Mike Gleason from Studio 66, Big Ten scores and highlights. Head coach of the Purdue Boilermakers, who are winning at Iowa today, and national highlights as well. First down for the Wolverines. Thomas. Lamanza Williams.
We talked earlier about Minnesota bringing 8-9 men up. Seeing Michigan having success throwing to the outside, throwing to the backs to the outside, because it's generally a linebacker responsibility. But again, Minnesota, to have that success to the outside, they're going to have to loosen up that box and take that extra guy out of there.
Second down. Greasy. Ty Streets was there. That ball may have been misdirected. I think Keith Dimmy got a piece of it. Intended for Ty Streets. Greasy had him on the post.
Take a look at Streets running just a quick post pattern, as you'll see, Wayne. You don't see it right there. Contact is allowed, so he comes up.
Michigan on 3rd down. They've been very well on 3rd down. Greasy. Shaw out there. Pass overthrown. Russell Shaw. Brian Greasy a bit upset with himself for overthrowing that pattern.
One of the few passes where Greasy tried to get the ball to a wide receiver. This is one reason he has time. Guy's right in front of him. Greasy drops back, lets the pattern develop. Just throws a poor pass right there. Otherwise, could have been a big play.
Yeah, give it assist. He was helping out as well. I don't think Lamanza gets blocked by one person too many times. Michigan waited for a while to make this. Minnesota has no one back deep. And now, do the Gophers want a time? So, we've got a break of the action. And don't forget to join us again next week for our Big Ten game of the week. Bragging rights in the Big Ten for the state of Illinois. 2 premier running backs, Adrian Autry of the Northwestern Wildcats. Travel to Champaign to take on Robert Holcomb and the Fighting Illini of Illinois. Check your local listings for the time in your area.
These two teams improving as the season's going on. Illinois with a new coach and years.
Yep. And again, part of the crowd on hand here today at Michigan Stadium, better than 100,000. Wayne Larrabee, Randy Wright, Jim Barber. Coming up, as we mentioned, the National Car Rental halftime report with Mike Gleason. Phillips Petroleum, maker of super clean gasolines and Trop Arctic motor oil, a proud sponsor of Big Ten football. Team up with Phillips 66 this fall to ensure your car runs at its best. Phillips 66, the performance company. A quick one on the Gophers, and the Gophers are able to take their first time out. Jim Barber.
Earlier on Clarence Williams, he's done for the first half, trying to put some weight on it, and that's been a problem so far away, and they'll reevaluate at halftime as to his status.
Field goal unit was up into the end zone. So again, They had the field goal unit. Michigan Stadium, Ann Arbor, Michigan. It is Marines as they take on the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And at stake here today, the Little Brown Jug, the nation's oldest college football trophy. Wayne Larrabee. Evans going nowhere. Boy, the Wolverines rooted that play out. Joaquin so in on that tackle to Honey Jones.
Minnesota can. Then they may go into their 2-minute offense, but I think they're not going to be very risky down here right now.
Coming up on 1:30 to go, first half. Second and long. Evans slipped through the defense and making the stop on that play. Weathers, the cornerback, got a good ankle grab or thereabouts. Pick up on that play of about 8 yards. I believe Michigan wants to stop the clock now.
Yeah, I think that's a good call because with 3rd down and 3, you still got over a minute to go, and if they can force Minnesota to punt with Charles Woodson on your team,
they got 10 on that run by Evans, so it's 3rd down and 2 for Minnesota. Ten years ago, Ricky Foggy scrambles 31 yards here. Time sidelines for the Wolverines in a 20-17 Minnesota upset of Michigan.
1986, both times Michigan undefeated when Minnesota beat them, and that was the very first thing Lloyd Carr told us yesterday is, hey, the only loss is something we're aware of.
The other factor was last year after beating Michigan State. Lloyd Carr's team went down to Purdue and lost. Worried about a letdown here, but so far no evidence of such. Cochran on the option. No chance. Joaquin Fizel pursued from behind on the defensive line and snuffed it out, a loss of 2 more yards. It is a 4th down for Minnesota.
No chance at all for Billy Cochran. As you see, Michigan does a nice job of stretching for him to run, and there's no room.
Timeout left. Certainly the best scoring defense, and
they are so unselfish. They're playing as a unit. They know that. They're happy with that, and the success they've had.
Touchdown, Michigan, inside the 10-yard line. The block executed by D'Elo Johnson.
Glenn Mason told us you can't help Michigan. We need to get the help to get this ball off. All he wants to do, knowing Michigan is coming with the punt block, is just kick the ball. A job of getting back there as Minnesota back to it.
So Michigan first and goal to the 8. Chris Howard. Well, you're right. It took Kemp a long time to get that kick away.
Especially when you're in there just to get rid of it quickly. Not necessarily get a 70-yard punt. You want to get it out, at least make them go 50 or 60 yards.
So the football to the 5-yard line is Greasy head. Michigan leading it 14-3. 54 seconds to go. The Wolverines out of timeouts now. Disaster for Minnesota in this second quarter. The Gophers led 3-0 at the end of one, but for Glenn Mason and company, starting with the Charles Woodson 33-yard gallop off a reverse.
Well, Minnesota playing on a short field. The Gopher offense has not done much since that opening drive, and they've had to punt out of their own end zone. They've had to punt out of their own end of the field, and Michigan has had the ball around midfield, and they've done things with it. They've put points on the board, but a huge play and a huge series here for this Gopher defense. If they can somehow keep them to 3 rather than a touchdown, would almost be a momentum swing in their favor going into halftime. But important they keep the Wolverines out of the end zone here.
Time winding down. Second down. Blitz. Greasy. Knocked down. Incomplete. Lamanzer Williams takes down his second pass of the day. So it becomes 3rd and goal from the 5.
Nice job of Williams on a 3-step drop, not really coming with the rush, almost as though he had that play pretty well scouted. If he somehow could have caught that ball,
almost intercepted that ball.
He had both hands on it. That would have been a huge play, but nice job knocking it down.
3rd and goal. It is intercepted on the play through the hands of Ty Streets and intercepted by Jimmy. So Michigan is turned back at the Minnesota doorstep.
What a huge play as this ball is thrown a little bit behind the receiver. Nice protection, but as it's thrown behind Streets and he swings around, he knocks the ball up. And whenever you've got close coverage and the ball gets tipped up, more times than not, your defense is going to come down with it. Right there, bad pass. Wyrick does a nice job of reacting to it and makes the play.
And if I'm Glenn Mason, I kneel down right here. I have my quarterback drop back to a knee.
You kneel down and you say, thank you, Chris.
Yes, indeed.
Take a look at the first half stats here, Wayne. Minnesota's doing what they want to do, rushing the football. They've got 80 yards so far, but they're not complementing that with any kind of passing offense. They need to make some big plays throwing the ball in order to continue to try and get some points on the board and move it. If you look at their average field position, Minnesota deep in their own territory down on the 21-yard line, whereas Michigan, a much shorter field, taken over at the opponent. Minnesota's 46.
Prestone first half stats, and you look at Brian Greasy getting set to crank up the Michigan offense here for the second half of this afternoon's ball game. Michigan comes in unblemished, looking to extend their winning streak to 8-0 as they head up to Happy Valley next week. Overcast skies here now. It's kind of dark. It looks like we may get some rain for the second half of this game. Glenn Mason, the jacket is off. First half leaders. Now look at that. Evans, 71 yards for Minnesota. Howard had 38 for Michigan. Greasy much more active in the passing department. And dropping back deep, Anthony Thomas for Michigan to receive this opening kickoff. Aaron McManus to get things started. Good leverage into this kick from the 3-yard line to Thomas. Cut down at the 35. Outstanding tackle made by McManus, the man who kicked the ball off. 32-yard return, first half possessions for Michigan. Wolverines have been in position to score more often than not. The interception deep in Minnesota territory. Matter of fact, in the end zone of the Gophers.
You look at that, Wayne, 4 of their 6 possessions started on the plus side of the 50-yard line. So even though there aren't many plays, they've gotten big yards and they haven't had far to go.
Brian Greasy with the Michigan offense, first down from its 35. Chris Howard. Hoffman arrived on the scene. Sean Hoffman had help coming from Tyrone Carter. He is always around the football. There's a look at that big Michigan offensive line. Zach Adamy, Hutchison protecting Brian Greasy.
Take a look at Brian Greasy. We asked Lloyd Carr yesterday, how good is Brian Greasy? How good can he be? And he said, you know what? We're going to find out in November. That's when our tough games are. That's when we're going to see how he finishes. We'll see how good he is.
Greasy to the air. Good coverage downfield. There's a late flag on the play. Greasy goes down to the 39 on a gain of about 4.
maybe a hold against Michigan on Lamanzer Williams, which happened well on the other side of the play.
You got it.
Well, actually, Lamanzer Williams helped me out. He was signaling to the referee well before I saw it. Can hardly fault the guy for holding Lamanzer Williams. Take a look as you're seeing Jeff Backus, 79. A lot of times the quarterback, as a lineman, you expect the quarterback to...
On the offense, 10-yard penalty, bottom of the foul, still second down.
A lot of times as a lineman, you expect the quarterback to throw the ball in a certain amount of time. And when that doesn't happen and he starts scrambling, then the defensive player changes angles and you have to reach out and grab him because he's not in a good blocking position. That may have been what happened right there.
2nd and 28. Streets is there. Could not hang on. In front of the Michigan bench. An official is marking the ball, and now the official's conferring. I believe that pass was incomplete. Incomplete is what they're going to rule.
I think the lines judge is ruling incomplete. He saw that ball come out, and
oh yeah,
he was ruling it incomplete, and I think that would be the right call.
Pass is ruled incomplete.
Watch it again.
Take a look at the bottom of your screen. Streets just trying to beat Scruggs on an up pattern. Greasy does a nice job putting the ball there, but it's bounced, and no question there. Watch the ball bounce off his helmet. Never has control of it. Not really any question that ball's incomplete.
So it is a 3rd down for Michigan, 3rd and long. Minnesota has had some bad breaks on sideline passing plays in the last few weeks, but that one goes in the Gophers' favor.
Michigan still not having a pass completed to a wide receiver.
Greasy steps up. Had a long way to go to get that 1st down. Brian got about 2 yards, and Antoine Richard, the other standout of the Minnesota defensive line, made the stop.
Good coverage in the secondary forces Greasy to pull the ball down and try and make what he can running. Good pressure on the outside also forces him to step up. And Antoine Richard, as you mentioned, much better against the run. Does a nice job against the pass that time.
Vinson got a low snap, gets a line drive kick away. 2-2 Atwell upended beautifully. Sam soared in textbook fashion, cut his legs out from under him. But Minnesota will start this drive in Michigan territory just inside the Wolverine 49. Our first break of the 3rd quarter with the Wolverines on top. Michigan Stadium, Wayne Larrivee along with Randy Wright and Jim Barber. Minnesota's first possession of the 2nd half starts at the Wolverine 49. Byron Evans gets the call for short yardage down to the 48. Minnesota's first half possession chart looks like this. That field goal, and 71 of Minnesota's 92 yards came in that first drive.
Other than that first drive, which went 9 plays, they just had one other one that went more than 5, and that's one reason why their defense was on the field for so much of that first half.
2nd and 9. Cochran's got a man out there, but threw it to the band instead. To Studio 66, Mike Gleason, what's happening in Iowa City?
Well, Wayne, the Hawkeyes, they're not going to go down without a fight. After all, they are playing in Iowa City. Right before halftime, Randy Reiners, Rob Thane, this is the 2nd time these 2 guys have hooked up in the first half. Thane finds the pylon, gets in. It's now 17 of 14 of Boilermakers. Wayne?
Boy, oh boy, got a barn burner going there in Iowa City. 3rd down for Minnesota. 2-2 Atwell, maybe the target here. He has the 1 3rd down conversion for Minnesota. He's in motion. Cockrum under pressure. Cockrum running for his life. Carry out of bounds and a flag down. Escorted to the sidelines in rather rude fashion, and that may have drawn a flag. Oh, they're going to call it illegal block on Minnesota. I didn't think it was a late hit, but let's get the call from Bill Lemonnier. Well, he's going to talk it over with his people. He goes to Marcus Ray, the captain of Michigan, and decides whether they want to take the penalty or not. It was only a 2-yard gain.
We have an illegal block in the back. The penalty is declined. 4th down.
See if you can pick it up, Randy.
You take a look. I think it's going to happen with one of the receivers coming back to try and help out Billy Cockrum as no one is open downfield. Cockrum takes off and run, and you'll see just at the end, actually, Byron Nelson, number 36, comes up late trying to block from behind, hits his man in the back.
On formation time, Ryan Rindles is on. Woodson from his 8. Park Williams would not let go, and Woodson goes down at the 13-yard line. Return of 5 yards. There's a flag down to the play. Michigan was an illegal block, 5-yard penalty. So instead of starting out at the 13-yard line, the Wolverines begin this drive back near their 7. Brian Greasy comes on. Michigan has dominated the second half of its games. Only 3 field goals, all coming in the 3rd period against that Michigan defense in the second half of Wolverine games. Howard finds some running room out to the 14. Pickup of 7. Keith Dimmy, the free safety, on the stop.
First down is always a big down, but when you're backed up to your own end zone, it becomes even more important. And when you can get positive yardage running the football like this with this kind of hole, now you've got a 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3. You can really open up your offense and do different things.
Howard again. Hammered by Rufus Smith, and down he goes after a gain of about a yard, maybe 2, out to the 16. Back to Studio 66. Mike?
Wayne in the back. Miami is climbing back into it against the Rockets of Toledo. It's 14-zip. Sam Ricketts, good coverage. He takes it in himself. Touchdown. It's now 14-7 Toledo over the Red Hawks. Wayne?
Maybe the first of 2 meetings between those 2 teams. They could meet December 5th for the Mid-America Conference Championship. Michigan close enough, apparently. Got a generous spot of the ball as they measure for a first down. The line of Chris Howard, and Michigan, by the very tip of the nose of that football, has got it. So just out near the 17-yard line of the Wolverines, leading by 11. Gophers jumped into the neutral zone. Howard not going very far, but penalty markers on the play. Hoffman made the stop. Glenn Mason has seen his team hang in there tough against, at the time, number 1 ranked Penn State. Last week against a favored Wisconsin team. This week here in Michigan.
Offsides, defense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
And Wayne, Minnesota and Glenn Mason are doing this the way they want to. They're doing it with rushing offense and rushing defense. If you can stop teams from running the ball successfully, then you stand a lot better chance of giving the ball to your offense much more. So even though he hasn't had the success the last couple of weeks, he's putting his system in. His players have bought into it, and they're starting to execute it more and more each week.
Michigan 1st and 5. Anthony Thomas. Good play made on the flank of the defense by Rufus Smith. Amoco Big Ten Leaders, brought to you by Amoco. You expect more from a leader, and these are leaders. Tavian Banks for Iowa. Billy Dickin of Purdue's at work today in Iowa City, and Brian Alford, who scored a touchdown earlier today in Iowa City. Big touchdown, I believe it was over 70 yards.
One of those balls that you like as a quarterback. You throw it about 10 and the receiver runs about 60.
Yes. Make him do the work.
Make him do the work.
2nd down. Nice move by the freshman Thomas. First down to the 32-yard line. Anthony Thomas, who since the injury, a hamstring injury to Clarence Williams in the first half, has come on to play a more prominent role in this ball game, picks up the first down.
Take a look. Minnesota has misaligned from the beginning. They've got players on the wrong side. They never get off the ball, put any kind of pressure on Greasy. He does a nice job of picking Thomas out in the left flat.
A steady drive by Michigan from inside their 10 out to the 32. Greasy on the bootleg. Greasy goes down at the 31. Loss of 1. Well, I'll tell you, that was a pretty good block out there by Chris Howard, who sustained that block against Lemanzer Williams. Take a look at it.
Well, the reason that Chris Howard becomes a blocker is because Lemanzer Williams has covered him the whole way. He's supposed to be the main receiver. A little bit of a hole there, but once Greasy sees he's not there, Howard becomes a blocker. Greasy tries to make something out of nothing. You don't think of Lemanzer Williams as much as a pass cover guy as you do a rusher, but he's done a nice job today a couple times.
Is that part of the zone blitz stuff we're seeing in pro and college football now?
A little bit of it. I think Williams is just doing a nice job of recognizing what the play is early and reacting to it.
Shaw in motion. Again, they naked bootleg it. This time the big tight end, Campbell, rambling across the 50 to the Minnesota 45. Mark Campbell came in with 1 catch for 3 yards into this afternoon's game. He's got a couple of big plays, including a 12-yard touchdown reception.
You'll see Lemanzer Williams right in Brian Greasy's face right there, and that allows Greasy to throw the ball over him and get it to Campbell. The play before, take a look at it again. The left side of your screen, Williams comes in right there. The ball goes right over his head. There's nobody out in the flat. Campbell turns it into a nice gain.
24-yard gain and a first down. Howard to the 39, gain of 6. To Studio 66, Mike Gleason. Have they started again in Iowa?
Well, Wayne, this is the GTE cut-in of the day. Some wild times. Iowa returns or recovers the onside kick. They score, but this touchdown is called back because Reiner's crossed the line of scrimmage. Then they get a chance, 35-yard chip shot. It's blocked, but they blew 2 opportunities. It's still 17-14 Purdue, Wayne.
There's no such thing as a chip shot in the Big Ten.
In any league these days, is there?
Michigan is a little disheveled here at the moment, and penalty markers are down. Not sure if they ran out of time on the clock or not.
Illegal substitution on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
Should be still 2nd down, I believe. Unless they called.
Those are the things that can drive a head coach crazy. There's players coming into the game and coming out of the game and not knowing exactly who's supposed to be where. Those are easily corrected mental mistakes.
7 penalties today on the Wolverines. That's a bit high. We still have 8:02 to go, 3rd quarter.
For the most part, though, a pretty clean, well-played game. Not many turnovers. A couple more penalties than what you'd like as a head coach, but pretty well played on both sides of the ball.
2nd and 9. Over the top for Woodson. Penalty marker down. Jimmy Wyrick, pass interference inside the 5-yard line. When Michigan has needed a big play today, they have gone to number 2 on offense. The best cornerback in the nation.
Wayne, that not only tells you what they think about Woodson, but it also tells you a little bit what they think about their wide receivers. They don't get that big play out of their wide receivers. Plenty of time for Greasy to throw. He does a nice job keeping the ball in bounds and giving Woodson a chance, and Wyrick just runs right into him. Good call by the officials.
On the defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic 1st down.
At the 30-yard line of Minnesota, Jimmy Wyrick considered to be the strongest of the 2 quarterbacks on the field for Minnesota. First down for the Wolverines. Anthony Thomas. Touchdown. 30 yards.
Williams runs right by Thomas, and when you get inside of your outside contain, take a look again. Nobody really blocks him. He just runs right by. Then there's nobody on the outside. Thomas puts a nice move right there, gets the ball into the end zone. Another drive by the Wolverines, over 90 yards, ends in a touchdown.
92-yard Michigan drive. Anthony Thomas, 30 yards to the end zone. Michigan 21, Minnesota 3. Wayne Larrivee, Randy Wright, Jim Barber back at Michigan Stadium. Wolverines have cruised on top 21-3, and Feely with the kickoff. Hooked it away from Atwell to the far side, and this one hops out of bounds at the 10-yard line. Well, they've done their best to keep it away from number 1, haven't they?
Well, they've done a nice job keeping it away from them.
The offense takes the ball at the 35-yard line.
Unfortunately for Michigan, when you kick it away from them out of bounds, you still get very good field position.
Atwell had the 115-yard reception, Randy, on the first drive of the ball game for Minnesota. It's the only third down they've been able to convert.
Well, Charles Woodson, you get a cornerback like that, you call him an eraser because he can just totally make your best receiver disappear. And that's what he's done for the most part with Tutu Atwell today.
Well, let's see if the Gophers can put together a drive. From their 35 and first down, Sauter back in at quarterback. Pass thrown early. Atwell did not turn around, and Woodson had the coverage. Let's get down to the sidelines. Jim Barber's got a special guest. Jim?
Yes, I do, Wayne. Wayne Stover, the Citrus Bowl. It's a little warmer in Orlando right now, but what we want you here for is to explain the entire Bowl Alliance situation in 50 words or less. Seriously, though, you are here scouting Michigan and have been on a number of occasions, but a number of teams can wind up in Orlando on New Year's Day.
That's true. There's, as we talked earlier, there's probably 6 or 7 teams that are still in the bowl picture for us from the Big Ten. It's going to be an exciting November for us, and we're looking forward to any team we get down there. It's going to be a good team for us.
Pretty amazing year for the Big Ten, talking as many as 7 teams into it. When will you guys actually know? I mean, this must be a crazy time for you.
Yeah, well, there's some big games come up. We talked Penn State, Michigan next week's a big one for us. Ohio State, Michigan State's a big one. You got Michigan and Wisconsin coming up. Those are really going to kind of determine who finishes where and who gets to come down to Orlando.
All right, finally for Wayne and Randy, sell the weather in Orlando today.
I heard it was 82 and sunny with no humidity, so.
Thank you, Wayne. Back to the other way.
Screen pass broke it up. James Hall, among others, in on that play. Minnesota's offense has done very little since the opening drive of the ball game, and the roar of applause you hear is for the Michigan defense.
Well, you take a look at this defense, Wayne, and if this defense continues to play like it has today, like it has all year, this team is not going to be in Orlando in January. They just come at you everywhere. Nice job reading the play, getting the hands up, and almost intercepted right at the end of that ball. Good effort by Hall to try and intercept that.
Rindles gets the punt away to Woodson. Penalty markers down all over the play. Charles Woodson out of bounds across the 35. Hart Williams finally chased him down. Boy, I tell you, I've never seen anyone run more effectively east-west than Charles Woodson on a punt return. Illegal block behind the back. Against the Wolverines, Charles gets a break here on the bench. And they're going to mark it off from about the 33-yard line or thereabouts. Overcast skies.
Block in the back on the return. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Take a look on the left side of your screen. It's going to come in from behind right there. Don't know if he would have made the tackle or not, but clearly a block in the back, and I don't know if he would have made that tackle. Wayne, looking at it from that angle, I think it was a block didn't need to be made.
I think Woodson had the angle. And overcast all day. Hasn't rained, but just a little bit. A little drizzle here and there. For the most part, the game has been played under ideal football conditions. Gracie. They've really rolled the pocket effectively here today, haven't they, Randy? And again, the freshman Thomas forced out of bounds by Ben Mesera. Gain of about 6 yards.
That was really a nice job of Brian Greasy. Again, Michigan trying to run the screen play. Minnesota did a nice job of seeing this develop. Take a look at the Minnesota defensive line. Watch how they come to the left here. You'll see them just come over to this side. So when Greasy throws it, there are a lot of white jerseys. But by rolling to the right, he gives himself an alley to get the ball to Thomas so that he can still pick up 5 yards.
And again, what they've been able to do is roll away from Lemanzer Williams and make him come from a farther distance to get to the quarterback. This time they run right at him, and Thomas runs by him. Close to the first down near the 32-yard line where Park Williams tracks him down.
Well, that may be the best game plan. When you throw, run away from him. When you run right at him. Because you neutralize a lot of his speed.
And then that's a lot the way teams attack a lot of the great defensive linemen. You'll run at him, you throw away from him.
Nice job. Cross block there by Michigan. They bring Shea, the tight end, 36 across. Makes a nice block. Gives Thomas a lot of room. Pick up the first down.
Michigan at the Wolverine 33. Anthony Thomas. Tailback and place kicker in high school. We talked about him a couple of weeks ago. That's an unusual combination. And the freshman again. This time on the flank of the defense, Tyrone Carter made the stop. To get inside the huddle of your favorite Big Ten team, go online at www.big10.org for all the football and conference news from around the Big Ten. 2nd down and 8 for Greasy. Russell Shaw in motion. Once again, Greasy this time out on the flank, and Raymond Baylor brings him down near the line of scrimmage. So it'll be 3rd and 8.
Wayne, this is a very low-risk passing offense by Michigan. We hear it described as an offense that plays to their defense. Their defense is so good, they're not going to do anything offensively to put them in trouble. You see a lot of screens, you see a lot of rollouts, you see a lot of bootlegs. Well, when you run them successfully 3 and 4 times, pretty soon the defense is going to wise up, and Minnesota's starting to read that play early and do a nice job of covering it.
I wonder what that signal means. David Gibbs on the sidelines there.
Well,
blowing on the palm of his hand.
I hope it means watch number 2, because he's been the guy for Michigan that has made the plays, and he's in the game again at wide receiver.
At the top of your screen. Greasy. Shea, first down. To the Gopher 43. Keith Dimmy made the stop. Aaron Shea out of Ottawa, Illinois.
One of the better throws Greasy has made today. Watch how he's got to thread this in there quickly, right as Shea makes his cut, and before number 20, Fred Rogers, gets over there. A timing pattern. It's got to be perfectly executed. Greasy and Shea did a nice job timing that up well.
10-yard gain. Michigan on the move inside the Minnesota 45. Howard slipped. May have helped him make that move. By delaying for a moment, he found a nice crease up the middle, and he picks up about 9 yards.
Well, I agree with you. I don't think that's the way. This play is not designed to be a counter, but watch as he slips. It allows the defense to overflow, and he does a nice job of regaining his balance and then breaks the tackle and picks it up. Nice job by Chris Howard.
Pretty good ad-lib by the senior. Down for a face mask off the hands of Marcus Knight. Looked like Lemanzer Williams reached and got the face mask of the quarterback, Brian Greasy. Although they are talking to the Minnesota folks, aren't they?
I think it's clearly going to be a face mask against Minnesota. Sure, well, maybe not, but it sure looked like it.
Michigan doesn't think so.
Holding on the offense. 10-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
That's why we're up here. Both flags were thrown at the same time. They may have seen it, but it sure looked like a face mask on Greasy.
Bill Lemonnier and his crew are a lot closer to the action than we are, and so is Lloyd Carr. See if we can pick it up.
Take a look. It's got to happen right around where Greasy is, because that's where the flag is thrown. As you can see, the umpire and the referee both throwing the flag at the same time.
2nd down and long. About 17 to go. Howard to the 45 for a gain of 5. Clemson, Wake Forest, Mike Gleason, what do you have?
Well, Wayne, the Tigers starting to pull away from Wake right now. Green steps up, buys some time, launches it downfield, 41-yard strike to Rob Gardner. That's Gardner's first touchdown reception. 25-10 Clemson now, Wayne.
Thank you, Mike. Right here, 21-3. Michigan on top. Third down at about 12 for the Wolverines. Procedure against Michigan. Maybe a false start. So getting a little sloppy here for the Wolverines.
Hard to snap. False start. On the offense, 5-yard penalty, still third down.
Well, Wayne, this is something that Michigan has not done. Take a look, as you'll see, number 79, Jeff Backus, just jump a little early. Michigan, one of the reasons they've had so much success with long drives is they haven't done things like this that have stopped them. Here, a couple of penalties puts them in a 3rd and 17 now.
10 penalties already for the Wolves. Greasy in the shotgun. He has some running room, but not enough to get a first down. Park Williams recovered from the linebacking core to make the stop. A gallop of about 8 yards, but he needed a whole lot more than that. Matter of fact, he needed 17. It becomes 4th down.
What a nice job by Park Williams. He's playing zone. So watch it in the middle of your screen, 37. He drops back now in zone, reading his zone. He sees the quarterback step up. Then he comes up, fronts him up, and he still reaches out there, makes a nice tackle. Nice job of pass coverage, but yet when it becomes a running play, steps up, becomes a linebacker, makes a nice tackle.
So 4th down. Greasy is the Pooch punter. Gets some nice leverage into this. Nobody back for Minnesota. Wolverines get a kind hop. Russell Shaw picks it up at the 1-yard line. That's what you call playing to the strength of your defense. You just back him up deep and let the defense shut him down. If you're going to stall out offensively, this is how you want to end your drive.
Nice job by Greasy. All he wants to do is kick the ball high, let his outside receivers get down there. Shaw does a nice job picking the ball up in the air and then picking up before it goes in the end zone once it bounces on the ground.
Jim Barber, what's going on?
Guys, you were talking about the Minnesota defense moments ago. Lamanza Williams grew up outside Ann Arbor, just moments away in Ypsilanti. We'll get to that story in a minute as the crowd starts to get into it for Michigan.
On the 1-yard line, first down. Sauter on a quarterback keeper. Gets about a yard. Jim?
Lamanza Williams grew up in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and he, of course, decided to go to University of Minnesota. Problem was, he didn't like the way things were going at Minnesota, and as a redshirt freshman, decided to leave college and go back home. So he's home watching TV one day, saw Derek Alexander rip things apart for Florida State, and said, you know what, I can do that. He went back to Minnesota, and now he's a happy camper.
Good story, Jim. He is a happy camper and doing very well on the football field. From the eye, Evans not going to go far against this Michigan defense. Well, I'll tell you, Gold, the linebacker, Hendricks, the safety, were in on that stop.
See Dhani Jones right there, number 55, stepped in for Eric Mays when he got hurt a couple of games ago against Indiana, and Dhani Jones has done a nice job. Second on this team in tackles, got an interception, a couple of sacks, and when you've got the depth that Michigan does, you lose a co-captain in Eric Mays. Having a guy like Dhani Jones just strengthens your defense.
Third down. Michigan's defense does what the field position game was designed to do. 1, 2, 3, and out go the Gophers. And Pat Howe, who's been banged up with an ankle injury this season, limps off.
Well, the right side of that Minnesota line has been banged up. Tim Saha has a bad shoulder, Pat Howe a bad ankle. You can hardly play these guys on an even field when you come in banged up to begin with. And Michigan doing a nice job. Their run defense tackling behind the line of scrimmage.
Minnesota 2 of 11 on third down conversions. Now it's 4th down, and Rindles from under the crossbar of his goalpost. Got a low snap, gets a line drive kick away. Russell Shaw from the 40. Slips by Park Williams. Still on his feet to the 30. He's to the 20. Taken out of bounds. Just short of the 10-yard line. Apparently he stepped out near the 15. They're going to mark it just inside the 15-yard line, and Michigan again gets tremendous field position to start a drive.
Nice move by Shaw right there on Park Williams, and then the acceleration. He sits back, he lets it develop, picks his hole, rushes through Crawford Jordan. A nice job of bringing him down before the end zone. But Wayne, we're seeing how their defense has been dominant today. We've seen offense put together a 90-plus yard drive for a touchdown, and special teams, again, they are so solid in all phases of their game right now.
Final minute, third quarter. Shaw in motion. Greasy. Marcus Knight, the reception at the 9-yard line, gain of about 6 yards as the third period comes to a close. Michigan extends its advantage in the third quarter with a touchdown to 21-3 as we head to the fourth. Michigan since. Michigan since. And the Wolverines driving for more as we open the fourth quarter here at Michigan Stadium. Second down and 4. Chris Howard to the 7-yard line, gain of a couple. To the studio, Mike Gleason, what's Peyton Manning up to?
Well, I'll tell you what, Wayne, Peyton Manning, South Carolina is starting to bend. They haven't broke yet, but Jamel Lewis got 1 touchdown. Manning has yet to throw for 1 yet, but this time Lewis picks up 38 yards, setting up a field goal, and Peyton Manning and the Volunteers lead it 12-0 for South Carolina.
Thank you very much, Mike. The Michigan offensive line, Jeff Backus has had a pretty good day today. Third down and about 3. Chris Howard started that leap a little early. I don't think he got there. He got down to the 5, needed to get to the 4. Minnesota got a pretty good surge that time up front. And there's no question Michigan's going to go for it. Or is it? Is there a question? Nope. Going to be 4th down and a yard to go.
And it's a short yard, too. As you can see, Brian Greasy right there, certainly closer to a foot than a yard. And with the defense as good as Michigan's,
you go for it.
You go for it, because even if you don't make it, you're up 21-3. Even if you don't make it, you've got an offense that has struggled since the opening drive going against an awfully good defense.
4th and 1. Howard's the long back. Greasy on a keeper. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if he got it. It depends on the spot of the ball, and from the way it looks, it's going to be close. I'll tell you what, if the markers mean anything on the sidelines, he didn't get it.
Certainly the Golden Gophers think that he's short.
Well, they're going to bring the chains out, because in something like this, you want to make sure, right?
Well, by the reaction of the crowd where the ball was spotted, I think it's going to be short. And they think so, too, by their reaction.
He didn't get it.
You heard somebody say he didn't get it. Oh, he did. Wow. The tip of that football. My goodness.
Well, what that tells you is the markers on the sideline don't mean anything, because they were much closer to the 4-yard line than what that ball is.
You got it. Well, it's 1st and goal now for Michigan inside the 5. Opening 2 minutes, 4th quarter. Greasy fumbles the snap. Minnesota football. Minnesota football as Greasy appeared to pull away too soon. The Golden Gophers have it, and they have turned back the Wolverines. Dyron Russ made the recovery.
Greasy trying to go on a quick snap, comes through, and looks as though he just didn't ride with his center, as it was a fire out by that offensive line. Greasy's got to stay with him.
So the Gophers take over again deep in their own territory, but their defense is hanging tough in a 21-3 battle with Michigan. Minnesota starting deep in its own territory once again from the 4-yard line on a 1st and 10. Blitz is on. Sauter to the end zone. They picked up the blitz well. Sauter trying to get it to Atwell. Rob Sweat had the coverage at the 10-yard line. Glenn Steele with the pass rush pressure.
Take a look at the pressure here. Sauter has pretty good time to try and throw this ball early, but there's nobody open again, so he has to hold on to it. Only a 5-step drop. The clock starts ticking in your mind. Then he does a nice job of at least throwing it to the outside, so if it's not caught, it goes incomplete and not intercepted.
Glenn Mason pacing the Minnesota sidelines. His offense must get on track. Thomas Hamner breaks through out to the 10-yard line. Back to Studio 66. Mike Gleason. I guess they're underway in the second half at Iowa City, aren't they?
That's right, Wayne. And the Iowa Hawkeyes are on top. Tavian Banks, watch the juke right there. Then Banks is airborne. Touchdown, his 15th of the season. But more importantly, it's Iowa 21-17, Wayne.
Mike Gleason pulled a vocal cord on that airborne there.
A little excited in the studio. Everybody gets excited watching Tavian Banks run.
Third down and 4, Minnesota. Sauter threw it behind Atwell. Penalty marker down very late. Atwell appeared to get bumped a bit. Pass really thrown behind the intended receiver.
Well, Sauter threw the ball to the outside. You see the interference call against Rod Woodson. It's a timing pattern, a 5-yard hitch. As Atwell tries to come back towards Sauter, he comes back to the inside.
Interference on the defense. Spot foul, automatic first down.
Watch at the left end of your screen. Atwell's coming back to the inside. The ball's thrown to the outside. You see Sauter happy for the call. And that's a tough one on Woodson there.
First down to the 15. Evans would not go down on the first hit. Gets out across the 20 to the 23 on a gain of about 7 yards, and Sam Sword puts him away, and Evans gets up limping.
Well, you were right. He was hit and surprisingly didn't go down. Take a look at his hit.
I think that was Dhani Jones, wasn't it?
You could hear this all the way up. Helmet to helmet, Rob Renas, number 58. You could hear that all the way up here in the press box. Doesn't go down, and then Sam Sword comes over and finishes him off after a 7-8 yard gain. As you see Evans running off the field there under his own power. Nice job of staying on his feet, making a big play out of what could have been nothing.
Evans has run hard here today and effectively as well.
And Minnesota has played hard on both sides of the ball. They haven't had the success on offense, but it has been because of lack of effort.
2nd and 3. Sauter changing the play. Sam Sword.
Take a look at Sauter looking to his left. Never sees Sword coming from the right side. The pump fake. And then just a devastating blow right into the upper body of Sauter. Now, that's a big guy, 6'5", 215 pounds. And he goes down like one of those 5'8", 170-pound wide receivers.
I don't know who in this country is better defensively than Michigan. I haven't seen it. 3rd down. Penalty markers down early. Michigan has Minnesota rattled. There is no question about that. When they throw a flag early in the play, Randy, it's usually against the offense.
Exactly. Usually a motion penalty, something that would cause the play to stop.
Snap. Ball start. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
Back to Studio 66, Mike.
Well, Wayne, Penn State starting to take control right now, and Tim Hughes is feeling the pressure. The Lions defense coming in right now. Snyder of Penn State gets the sack on Hughes, and it's now 21-7 of Penn State over Northwestern. Wayne.
Kind of like what Michigan is doing here in Ann Arbor, really taking control of this game defensively. 3rd and long. Option. Hamner cuts it back. Wolverines all over that play. Ian Gold, the linebacker. But really give credit to Andre Weathers for forcing that cutback.
That defensive play right there typifies this Michigan defense. Everybody plays their assignments. They technically are very sound, and they stay at home. Here you see Weathers staying at home, and it allows the pursuit to come up and make the tackle.
No offense. Very well stated. And Minnesota just 15 yards on 4 possessions in the second half. Shaw from the 49 goes the wrong way. Park Williams makes a sure tackle. They're going to mark it to the 44. 9:43 left to go. Homecoming in Ann Arbor. Michigan on top. Michigan in control, leading 21-3 over Minnesota. Now let's take a look at our NTB students of the game. Brought to you by NTB National Tire and Battery. We're everything you want and nothing you expect. Park Williams, major kinesiology, 3.37 GPA. And Rob Arenas from Michigan, literature, science, art, 3.51. Not bad numbers. First down, 49-yard line, Michigan territory for the Wolverines. Greasy, lots of time. Off the hand of Travis Knight, Wyrick had the coverage. It has not been a good day for the Michigan offense here today. They have been somewhat sloppy, a little error prone, some turnovers. But defensively, they are so good.
Take a look at Woodson here, just running a little route wide open, and Greasy thought he could get the ball downfield and had his man open downfield, just didn't connect. But you're right, Wayne. If you look at this offense, they've had some turnovers, they've had a lot of penalties, they have not been sharp. But as we said earlier, your defense will carry you, and today that's been the case with the Wolverines.
Chris Howard steps through a tackle attempt to the Minnesota 37-yard line with a first down.
They may not have been sharp as Michigan standards go, but they haven't hurt you. And here is what they have done, is run the ball well. They've controlled it that way. They've kept it out of the hands of the Minnesota offense. And Howard, another huge hole to run through, does a nice job of just gaining positive yardage and taking time off the clock, which is what this offense does so well.
19 positive yards on that play. First down. Howard slipped. Kept his footing, and picks up yardage inside the 30, gain of about 9.
Last week, Wayne, Michigan ran the ball, even more so than what they would like to. And in the fourth quarter, it wore down that Michigan State defense, and they took total control of the game. Even though we saw Michigan come out throwing the ball early today, they got into their running game as the passing attempts opened up that Minnesota defense, and we're seeing the effects of it now as they've had a lot of success in this second half running the football.
Howard again for about a yard. First Plus Financial game summary. Michigan defense blocked a punt, held Minnesota to 107 yards of total offense, and again 71 of those yards came on the first drive of the game. Charles Woodson, he's played well on both sides of the ball. Michigan ran 50 times last week at Michigan State. That surprised even Bo Schembechler.
He was proud, though, I'm sure.
Third down, a little bit less than a yard to go. Thomas pulled back by Park Williams. It'll depend on the spot of the ball as to whether they got it. It appears they did. Inside of 8 minutes to go for the game. Michigan has been in control from a defensive standpoint. They've had opportunities offensively with misfires in close, interception of the end zone, and a fumble deep in Minnesota territory a few moments ago.
Well, look, Carr told us that playing Michigan State last week is such an emotional game. It's also very physical because Michigan State's the kind of team that'll stand there and pound it at you. He didn't know how they would come back. He wasn't going to be real surprised if they weren't sharp, but he wasn't going to accept it.
Thomas trying to pick his way. Not much of a hole to get through. He got maybe a yard or two. Jim, what do you have?
Wayne, 106,577. Another sellout here at Michigan Stadium. Just another day at the office. They are going to expand this stadium. They're going to add some 5,000 seats. It's going to be at a cost of roughly $4 or $5 million. It's going to allow students, more students, to get into this facility, which makes everybody happy. And by the way, some students on a split ticket right now get 3 games, and some miss the Ohio State game. So imagine missing one of the biggest games of the year. But expansion, roughly 106,000 plus eventually in a couple years.
Thank you, Jim. Second down. Greasy, little swing pass. Chris Howard made the first man miss. And the second and third. First down to the 16-yard line of Minnesota. Randy, when you get the ball in a situation like that, the quarterback basically is asking the running back or the receiver in the screen pass to make the play, right? When you get that deep.
Exactly. That's what you want to do. Get the ball to your back as quickly as you can so that he can become a runner. Here, nice job getting it to him. That allows Howard to make that first move. Now he just becomes a running back as though it's a sweep. Now, Michigan's backs, they do such a good job of understanding what their role is in the passing game that it's not a surprise to him when you call a pass to him.
Patrick McCall, a true freshman. Up the middle for about 6. Mike Cernak made the hit for Minnesota.
Wayne, I don't know of a team that uses their backs and their tight end as well as Michigan does. They understand the passing game. They understand the importance of it. They understand how to run routes, etc. And when you do that, you can interchange them as we've seen. We've seen Thomas catching the ball. We saw Clarence Williams catching the ball. You've seen Chris Howard do it. When you do that as a team, it adds so much to your game because, as we talked about, Michigan's wide receivers are not the game-breaking type that Michigan's had in the past.
Second down. McCall ridden down again, this time by Baylor. Well, you're right, Randy. I mean, Michigan has possession wide receivers, and to be honest with you, and this may sound like a rap, but they haven't, according to the Michigan people, caught the ball as well as they expected. Ty Streets, Russell Shaw.
They're very good possession receivers, but it's hard to have all receivers be possession receivers.
Yep.
You need 1 or 2, but you need some game breakers. And there you take a look at the Michigan coaching staff, happy with what they've seen today, but that's a big reason why you've seen Woodson in there when they needed a big play.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That's why Woodson gets into this lineup so often on this side of the ball. Third down. Greasy caught from behind. LeManzer Williams again. My goodness. A loss of about 3 or 4 yards, and it's 4th down. The field goal unit comes on.
Hey, there's a guy, LeManzer Williams. I don't think he ever looks at the scoreboard. He plays just as hard, whether it's first quarter, fourth quarter, whether you're ahead, whether you're behind. Watch them come. Look at the surge. They push that offensive line back, and Williams just comes around, not only back as number 77 there, but also a back that they tried to keep in.
31-yard field goal attempt. Greg Baker. And in routine fashion, he's got it through the uprights. Michigan, with 4:25 to go in the game, extends its advantage to 24-3. In 24 hours. GTE, official telecommunications consultant to the NCAA and the Big Ten. Amoco, you expect more from a leader. And by Prestone Antifreeze, protect your car in the Prestone zone. Wayne Larrivee, Randy Wright, Jim Barber, good to have you back at Michigan Stadium. Final 4:25 to go in the game. Wolverines on top in comfortable fashion, and will Tutu get a chance? Yes, he will. Here comes Atwell. To the 29-yard line, first down. A return of about 30 yards. Kevin Bryant, a wide receiver, made the tackle for Michigan.
Boy, he's exciting to watch, whether he's running pass routes or returning kicks. One of the most exciting return men in the country.
He is that. Minnesota offense back on the field. It's been a long day for them. Hamner's the tailback. Hall is the fullback. Billy Cockrum back in at quarterback on the option. to the 34, gain of about 5. Ian Gold made the stops. Studios 66. Mike Gleason, what do you have for us?
Well, Wayne, Purdue and Iowa, the Hawkeyes, Rob Thane having a big day, working his magic once again. Thane with a couple of touchdown receptions. Here he takes it down to the 1-yard line, and Iowa capitalized. It's now 28-17 Hawkeyes over Purdue.
Well, Purdue had the lead in that one early, and the Hawkeyes coming back at home as expected. Second down. Pitch was behind Hamner. He did well to hang on to it and gets about a yard to the 34-yard line before the Wolverine defense closed. Dahani Jones made the tackle.
Nice job by Rob Sweat, number 44 for Michigan, coming around from his linebacker position and forcing Cochran to pitch that ball a little early. As you said, Hamner did a nice job to catch on to it, but Sweat, nice job recognizing that play, coming full speed, delivering that blow on Cochran. Now here's a guy that is a senior. He's backed up. He's had a nice career here, but yet he's accepted the role as a backup and stepped in and done a nice job and called upon.
3rd and 4. Penalty marker down. Maybe for a hold against Minnesota anyway. Joaquin Fizel gets the snap, gets the sack. Holding the call against Minnesota. They have been outmanned up front in the trench all day.
Holding on the offense. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
Art Dodge player of the game, Charles Woodson. Take a look at his work here today. Helped to break this game open on a reverse. Actually, not break it open, but give Michigan the lead on a reverse.
And what you don't see there is how well he covered Tutu Atwell and totally eliminating him from the Minnesota offense.
Atwell, to my knowledge, 1 catch for 15 yards. That's it. Russell Shaw, no. I beg your pardon. That was James Whitley on the return. Michigan will start out beyond its 35-yard line with just under 3 minutes to go in the football game. Michigan Stadium, Michigan on top 24-3. And let's take a look at our outstanding back. Chris Howard of the Michigan Wolverines, 98 yards rushing, 40 through the air. Here's a look at Chris.
Looks like he played a game. See a lot of the dirt and the chalk from the stripes and the wet field.
You don't get that on AstroTurf.
No, it's usually blood from the turf wounds and the scrapes and everything that's all over.
Well, thank you for that addition to our program.
Well, we try to make you feel like you're part of the action.
Yes, yeah, indeed. Whether you like it or not. Scott Dreisbach comes on at quarterback. Dreisbach, the junior from Mishawaka, Indiana. He was the starter for most of last year. Dreisbach has Shea, great catch. Aaron Shea with a beautiful catch. Keith Dibby had the coverage. First down at the Minnesota 43.
Boy, this will make any quarterback look good. Dreisbach does a nice job getting it out there. Look at the one hand. Well, that ranks right up there with Woodson's interception from last week, doesn't it?
Nice play. Aaron Shea came into the game with just 3 receptions on the season.
Look at Dreisbach as a backup quarterback, 375 attempts in your career. That kind of experience, very comforting to Mike DeBoer, offensive coordinator for Michigan.
Demetrius Smith, the true freshman fullback, gets the call for very little yardage. Jim Barber, what do you have on these quarterbacks?
Well, guys, as you mentioned earlier in the broadcast, Dreisbach and Greasy, the roles were reversed last year. Scott the starter, Brian the backup. Well, this year, Brian's the man. And on the sidelines, just moments before Scott came up for mop-up duty, Brian and Scott exchanged hugs. Obviously, Scott congratulating Brian on his good day, and that's well noted. By the way, we should mention, with the stadium expansion that begins here at Michigan Stadium after this season, the attendance figures will be bumped up to at least 110,000, 106,000 actual seats, plus 4,000 they'll be shoehorning in.
Dreisbach gets away. Inside the 40 to the 36-yard line. A run of about 8 yards. Next week, Adrian Autry and the Northwestern Wildcats head south to Champaign, Illinois, to take on Robert Holcomb in the Fighting Illini of Illinois. It's Northwestern and Illinois, a Big Ten intrastate battle. and we'll have it for you. Check your local listings for the time in your area. Third down for Michigan. Dreisbach tried to force it in. Nice play by Fred Rogers, who knocked it away from the intended receiver. The Las Vegas play of the game. Well, take a look at it. It's the sack by Sam Sword. I'll tell you something. This Michigan defense up front has been outstanding. The front seven especially. Sam Sword as Sauter pump fakes, and all of a sudden gets Sam Sword a forearm flush.
Well, that's typical of what happened all day. If you're Corey Sauter or Cockrum, you saw that coming all day. Gets old in a hurry, too.
Coming up on a minute left to go. Dreisbach, little touch pass. Shea went up for it. Rufus Smith took his legs out from under him. Shea a little bit shaken up as he gets up.
Dreisbach goes over and helps him up because Dreisbach knows one of the reasons he's shaken up is because it was not a great throw. Watch Dreisbach tries to put a little air underneath it. Little high leads him right into the defender, and defender comes through, clips him right out. It's when you go back to your quarterback and you say, ouch. Next time we're going to switch roles. You go out there and I'll throw it to you that way.
Billy Cockrum ducks back in under center for Minnesota. Cockrum going to keep it. Gets out near the 41-yard line. A gain of about 5 yards. Diallo Johnson recovered from the safety spot to make the tackle.
Well, Cockrum's going to be the guy next year for the Gophers. 6'1", 202-pound sophomore, getting some valuable experience this year. Played a lot in the second quarter today. And a lot of the experience he's getting this year with this offense and this system, Glenn Mason hopes will pay dividends next year.
Michigan about to go to 8-0, 5-0 in Big Ten play. Jim Bean picks up maybe a yard at best. I'll tell you, even in mop-up time, the Michigan defense does not rest, does it? Time winding down to this football game. The officials stop the clock with about 14 seconds to go.
You talk about their defense not giving up with mop-up time. They like the fact that they played so well in the fourth quarter.
Timeout taken by Minnesota. The crowd booing that. It's raining, a little bit of drizzle right now here at Michigan Stadium. For the most part, it's been dry today.
Two tough losses the last couple of weeks. Glenn Mason didn't really know how much more his team had to give. The heartbreaker against Penn State 2 weeks ago. Last week, a tough border rivalry with Wisconsin. Both one-point losses. Came in today and played hard, but just didn't have quite enough to have the same kind of result.
They put 7 more seconds on the clock, and so Lloyd Carr and company will have to wait another 21 seconds. No one has scored on the Michigan defense this season in the fourth quarter. And so there's a lot of interest. A lot of the starters are up off the bench, and they're kind of on the sidelines making sure that their backups don't allow that perfect record to be ruined.
And their backups know they're being watched by their starters.
They do. Michigan coming out of blitz.
Well, Wayne, that'll teach you to call timeout. If you call timeout, you want to try and put some points on the board. Jim Herman is going to come after you, and they want to protect that statistic. They're proud of it, and they're going to come after you.
Jeff Holtry on the sack, and this game is in the books. The little brown jug, for the 11th year in a row, stays at Michigan. Glenn Mason coming over to shake Lloyd Carr's hand. And the Michigan Wolverines win their 8th in a row out of the gate. 5-0 in Big Ten play. Minnesota falls to 2-7, 0-5 in the conference. Don't forget, next week we've got Northwestern at Illinois. The Big Ten Illinois rivalry, as Robert Holcomb and Adrian Autry will be on display. Northwestern and Illinois, check your local listings. Again, the final score, Michigan 24, Minnesota 3. Let's go to Studio 66 and Mike Gleason.